Good morning, everyone. It's my pleasure to welcome all of you to this special event, Creating Entrepreneurship Culture in Academia, the current challenges and future hopes. To further discuss this issue, we have two really distinguished speakers. Mr. Jamal Naboulsi, he's the Managing Director of Saudi Aramco Entrepreneurship Center, WAAD. Let me first turn it over to Mr. Naboulsi, where he will talk about value-focused entrepreneurship to accelerate economic diversification in the kingdom wide case. Indeed, in the last 5 minutes, we're going to open the floor for questions and answers. So, Mr. Naboulsi, please welcome.
بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم الحمد لله رب العالمين والصلاة والسلام على أشرف الأنبياء والمرسلين. Distinguished guests, Assalamu alaikum and good morning. As they mentioned, my name is Jamal Naboulsi. I am the Managing Director of Saudi Aramco Entrepreneurship Center, which is known as WAAD, and in Arabic it means promising. In my presentation today, I will cover the following topics. First, a global perspective on the impact of entrepreneurship on any country with any type of economy, the critical need for entrepreneurship in Saudi Arabia, the current entrepreneurship efforts within the kingdom, and the focus of my company, WAAD, on the pursuit of programs and activities that aim to maximize and accelerate value for the kingdom's economy. To start with, most of you, if not all of you, are sophisticated enough to know that entrepreneurship definitely has a positive impact on the GDP and job creation in any country with any type of economy, but most importantly and most profoundly on countries with economies that are less regulated and have free market type of an economy. The impact of entrepreneurship can follow this path with heavy focus on job creation, or this path with more contribution to the GDP, or any other linear or non-linear path depending on various factors. However, for the sake of simplicity and illustration purposes, let us assume that the impact follows this path. Now, entrepreneurship generally starts with an idea, and if the person behind the idea has the right characteristics of an entrepreneur, that idea will be transformed into a startup company. And if the right conditions are there, this startup will grow into a small and medium enterprise category of companies. And if the right conditions are there, the SME will evolve into a large company, and from there, some of those large companies will grow to become giant companies. With that in mind, I must highlight 3 key points. First, the journey from an idea into a giant company could take anywhere from few years to several decades. Second, not all ideas complete this journey. Some ideas never make it to a startup. Some fail at the startup phase, some at the SME phase, and some at subsequent phases. The third point is the SME companies have the most profound impact on the GDP and job creation. These statistics provide a clear evidence on the positive impact of entrepreneurship on the economy and on the importance of SMEs to the GDP and job creation. Robust entrepreneurship requires 2 key drivers. These drivers are the number of startup companies that are created and the level of innovation that exists within these companies. The number of startup companies created is very critical because of the high failure rate of startups. Therefore, in order to have a large number of successful startup companies in any country, that country needs to promote and support the creation of a much, much larger number of startups. On the other hand, innovation is also very critical to the survival and rate of growth of any company, and consequently, to the level and speed of economic impact that that company can make on the country where it operates. Innovation provides sustainable competitive edge. It accelerates success and the rate of growth of companies, and it maximizes and expedites the economic impact. Google is an excellent example on the impact of innovation. In terms of impact on GDP, its revenue in 2010 was $29.3 billion, which according to MBA.org was larger than the GDP of the 28 poorest countries combined. Since then, its revenue has grown to around $50 billion by the end of 2012, to be accurate. Now, in terms of employment, Google started with 2 employees in 1998 and grew to over 32,000 employees, full-time employees, by the end of 2011. And now it has over 55,000 full-time employees after acquiring Motorola mobile business and absorbing around 20,000 employees from that company. Another excellent example on the impact of innovation is Tesla Motors. Most of you are familiar with that success story. Its market capitalization grew to around $20 billion within 10 years, and most of that explosive growth was within 1 or 1.5 years. This market cap is 42% of General Motors' current market cap, which is around $49 billion. And Tesla now has around 3,000 employees. Is entrepreneurship critical for Saudi Arabia? And the answer is absolutely yes, for the following 3 key reasons, among others. First of all, the kingdom is blessed with tremendous hydrocarbon resources. However, being heavily dependent on a single commodity is not economically sustainable in the long run, and it makes the country very vulnerable to fluctuations in both global demand and prices. Second, the kingdom has experienced a burst of population growth that is both a challenge and an opportunity. A challenge that requires the creation of a massive number of jobs, and an opportunity to capitalize on the energy and creativity of this young population. Third, the current size of the SME sector and the impact it has on the Saudi economy are still way below the level that would lead to sustainable economic prosperity. As for the current entrepreneurship efforts within the Kingdom of Saudi Arabia, one of the most important efforts in turbocharging entrepreneurship was initiated by the government of Saudi Arabia in terms of establishing a comprehensive enabling infrastructure and various programs to support the development of the SME sector. This effort is anchored around the kingdom's strategy to embrace entrepreneurship and transform itself into a knowledge-based economy. In recent years, the government made tremendous effort to establish and/or strengthen all the key enablers that are critical to the creation of a vibrant economy. That includes human capital enablers, business enablers, financial enablers, and industrial enablers. Furthermore, the government has expanded its investment in key sectors and enablers, as reflected in the 9th Economic Development Plan, which amounted to 67% increase relative to the 8th Economic Development Plan. There are various organizations and programs in the Kingdom of Saudi Arabia that support entrepreneurship. These programs include advisory services, training, incubation, and various types of funding. In terms of overall observation on the current entrepreneurship effort within the kingdom, focus on promoting and creating startup companies is high, which is very important, while focus on innovation, which is even more important, is still low. Now, I would like to share with you the vision of WAID and its emphasis on value-focused entrepreneurship and innovation, the niche that is still underserved. WAID is a wholly owned subsidiary of Saudi Aramco that was established in 2011 as a limited liability company. Our vision is to strongly support the kingdom's strategic thrust to transform itself into a modern society and a knowledge-based economy that relies less and less on hydrocarbon resources and more on entrepreneurship, innovation, and industrialization. WAID is an extension of Saudi Aramco's long legacy of supporting the overall economic and social development of the Kingdom of Saudi Arabia. And just like Saudi Aramco encouraged and supported hundreds and hundreds of young Saudis to become entrepreneurs in the 50s and 60s and nurtured them for many, many years until many of them became highly successful business leaders owning and leading global corporations. WAID today is supporting the new generation of Saudis to do the same and more. We focus on economic diversification and creation of quality jobs that are sustainable. And we do that by focusing on important sectors such as information and communication technology, healthcare, manufacturing, unique industrial opportunities, among others. We have strategic and unique programs that focus on maximizing value. Our enterprise development function, which supports the creation of startups and expansion of small and medium enterprises, has extensive pre-funding support, funding, and robust post-funding support. Our post-funding support is really where we make the biggest bang, or we add the maximum value to the entire process. Our venture capital function is unconventional because it aims to achieve two objectives. First, profitability, and second, and more importantly, economic diversification and creation of quality jobs. Typical or conventional venture capital functions are one-dimensional. They care about one and only one objective, maximizing profitability or return on investment. Our VC is a VC with a national agenda, and we are proud of that effort that we're making in that area. Our energy SME localization function focuses on maximizing the localization of the supply chain of our strategic partners, or tier one suppliers we call them, like General Electric, Siemens, Schlumberger, and others. And we also work with Saudi Aramco to maximize the localization of their supply chain also. Our entrepreneurship ecosystem development function pursues value-focused collaboration with other entrepreneurship entities in the kingdom. And we are also pursuing pioneering initiatives. His Excellency, Dr. Khalid Sultan mentioned one of them, and we have several that I'm going to share some of their features with you this morning. But these pioneering initiatives are aimed to maximize the value that we create for the kingdom and the kingdom economy. This is our enterprise development process, showing the extensive pre-funding support and the robust post-funding support as I mentioned earlier, that is intended to maximize our entrepreneurs' success and accelerate their growth. WAAD has recently intensified its collaboration efforts and established links with the key players of entrepreneurship within the kingdom. We established strategic partner relationships with KFUPM, with KAUST, with Centennial Fund, and with Mudun. And most recently, we established strong links with Bab Rizq Jamil, Badr, Riyadh, and Al-Qura University. Our collaboration philosophy is to only engage in activities that add value and maximize the collective effectiveness of the collaborating organizations. We only engage in activities that result in 3 wins. Win for WAAD, win for the collaborating partner, and more importantly, win for the kingdom. One of the pioneering programs that we established recently within the perimeters of KFUPM is WAAD Startup Lab. This is intended to be a best-in-class incubator in terms of the environment that we created and the quality of support that we provide to our entrepreneurs. It is also used to pilot new innovative programs. This picture was taken during the inauguration, which took place in July of this year. Another pioneering initiative is the establishment of WAAD Entrepreneurs Network. This network provides a forum for our entrepreneurs to meet one another, learn from one another, collaborate, and do business with one another. We also use this forum to showcase our entrepreneurs' capabilities to our strategic partners and to Saudi Aramco leadership in the areas that are relevant to the capabilities of our entrepreneurs. And we do that in order to open channels for business for our entrepreneurs with these key players. And we encourage these key players to take risk and encourage our entrepreneurs by giving them businesses that are suitable to their size and their capabilities. Another pioneering initiative aims to convert co-op students into entrepreneurs, thereby transforming them from job seekers into job creators. We are piloting this program with KFUPM, and next year we will, inshallah, deploy this program kingdom-wide through a national competition among universities. We currently have 14 co-op students who are working on the development of 6 companies. They form teams, and each team is tackling a particular innovative idea and trying to convert that with our support into a company, a startup company. We are also pursuing an effort with Badr to jointly develop a commercial prototyping facility that will be the first of its kind in the region and aims to further turbocharge entrepreneurship in the kingdom. And we are working with a US-based company called US Tech Shop to help us with the feasibility study. And we are also evaluating the establishment of a global competition to convert kingdom-relevant challenges into industrial opportunities. And our key requirement here is that the solutions, that the innovative solutions that may come up as a result of this global competition must be incubated within the kingdom, and what comes out of that in terms of factories or service, innovative services need to exist in the kingdom. With that, I conclude my presentation. Thank you for your active listening, and I wish you a highly informative and pleasant day.
Thank you very much, Mr. Naboulsi. And now I'd like to open the floor for any questions.
Thank you so much, Zuhair Qasim, Mechanical Engineering. Would like to ask how many entrepreneurs you have supported so far?
Very good question. We focus on quality rather than on numbers. And each company that we support is equivalent because of the nature of the funding that we provide. We don't operate in the microfinancing area. Our loans are much higher than that, and we create companies that you could say each one of them is equivalent to 10 or 15 companies of the microfinancing type. We have basically so far supported 18 companies through loans with a total amount of about 55 million riyals, and that doesn't include the venture capital funding that we provide. We have 3 venture capital deals that we inked recently, and 2 more coming within the next 2 weeks. So in terms of numbers, you cannot compare WAD to the likes of Babriz Jamil or Centennial or Riyada, who have a massive number of small companies that they created. But our niche is different. We focus on in an area that is seriously underserved, and we really focus, as I mentioned earlier, on innovation. Our model is value-based. That's the title of my presentation. So we care about the impact that we can make, and not necessarily now, but the potential impact that can be generated in the future. So I hope that answers your question.
Are they all in the oil and gas industry?
No, we focus on economic diversification. That's our major thrust. We have part of our portfolio a certain amount of funding for oil and gas based opportunities, provided they're innovative in nature. But the bulk of what we do is really away from the oil and gas. As I mentioned, healthcare, information and communication technology, manufacturing, and other innovative ideas. Because it doesn't really help. As I mentioned earlier, our economy here is heavily based on a single commodity, hydrocarbon. And the strategic thrust of the kingdom, which we subscribe to, and we're very active in supporting the kingdom's effort in, is to transform the country into a knowledge base, into economy that relies less on hydrocarbon resources and more on innovation, technology, entrepreneurship, and to expand the economy beyond hydrocarbon for sustainability. Because as I mentioned in my presentation earlier, it is not sustainable in the long run to be highly dependent on a single commodity. No matter how blessed you are or a country is, and Saudi Arabia is definitely blessed with tremendous hydrocarbon resources, but it's a depletable resource. So,
yeah. Thank you very much. Very nice and informative lecture. Yes, I'll make it brief. What I understood is that you have 2 factors in your effort. You are focusing on innovation and the increasing the number of startups. What I gathered is I have seen the effort in your lecture about the increasing of the number of startups, the programs, but how do you support the increase of startups which are based on innovation? Thank you.
well, not only Saudi Arabia, but any country that is trying to pursue efforts to turbocharge or boost entrepreneurship for various purposes, either to diversify the economy, which is our case, or to even expand the economic activities and increase the rate of growth and contribution to GDP. You need both. You need the numbers and you need the innovation. And in our case, in Saudi Arabia, there is no shortage of players who focus on creating numbers. I mean, Babriz Jamil created 10,000 or more, small companies. Centennial is also very active. They operate in that microfinancing. Microfinancing is anywhere from 50,000 riyals to 300,000 riyals. So the country needs both. it needs players who play in the area of creating numbers or creating a lot of startups, and players who focus on the higher level type of companies that are driven also by entrepreneurs, but the focus is different. The level of funding that is required to support those is much higher. Okay, so we go beyond 500,000 riyals to several million riyals. So both are needed. Okay, our niche is what I mentioned earlier, is on innovative ideas in various sectors that are known to generate a lot of impact in terms of employment and contribution to GDP. ICT, for example, I gave you the example on Google. Within 10 years, it went from 2 employees to 30,000 employees. That's the kind of impact that we look for. Now, I don't want to put anybody down who is operating at the micro level, but there is definitely a benefit and a need to create maybe hundreds and hundreds of mini markets. But how many of those can become General Electric or Microsoft or Google or companies that can really transform or the situation in a particular economy and create tremendous jobs. Time is very essential. Time is very critical. So if you don't have a lot of time to wait to make a big impact on the GDP or the employment, you need to pursue activities that can really lead to exponential growth in jobs and in the impact that you make on the GDP. We've chosen in our activities to focus on the higher level, on the type of companies that can make that exponential impact.
There's also a question from Dr. Ali Biba, then...
You did mention about the the nationwide competitions.
Global competition.
Global
yes,
competitions.
Yes.
And those things are happening throughout the globe. I mean, HKUST in Hong Kong, we do that annually, $1 million, so on. What is your goal at the end of it? What is your focus? What do you want to achieve at the end of those competitions, sir? Thank you.
Two things. First, this is something that's under development, but our idea here is to identify kingdom-relevant challenges, okay? And in order to define those challenges, we are going to work with various institutes in the kingdom, universities, professors, and others in the industry, to identify challenges that haven't been resolved yet, and challenges that can be converted into industrial solutions. So our objective is to hit 2 birds with 1 stone. One, to solve a problem that is relevant to the kingdom, and second, to translate the solution into either a service or a manufacturing that we can support and fund and further boost our activities in creating value for the kingdom.
Thank you very much, Mr. Naboulsi, and thank you very much for the participating audience.